Franco, bureaucrats at Global Affairs Canada spent 170,000 taxpayer dollars bringing 8 ISIS women back to Canada. The tab included business class flights, a $1,000 hotel room at the Montreal Marriott, glasses of red, white, and sparkling wine, and even Timbits and ice cream. What the heck is going on at Global Affairs Canada?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you laid it out pretty well there. Look, I think what this does show us, though, is that we got to open up the books completely, right? Global Affairs Canada spending more than $8 billion a year. I mean, look, the fact that bureaucrats at Global Affairs thought it's okay to spend taxpayers' money treating Canadian women who went to Syria to join ISIS on a luxurious trip back home, it really just shows me like, what are they thinking there? Okay, like. And this also is just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to wasteful spending at Global Affairs, right? I'm glad you mentioned some of what the money was spent on because it's crazy, right? The tab includes rooms at the Montreal Marriott, right? Business class flights. You mentioned some of the room service meals. You have glasses of wine also on the taxpayer tab. I mean, this is nuts. That alone costs about $170,000 at least to bring these women back to Canada from the Middle East. And like I mentioned, right, like a budget of more than $8 billion. This one example, as egregious as it is really just the tip of the iceberg of crazy spending at Global Affairs Canada, which might be one of the worst waste offenders in the entire federal government, if not the worst. So, look, what I think we need now is a complete inquiry into Global Affairs Canada's spending, a complete opening up of the budget, and really going line by line through it to just absolutely take a chainsaw to some of this wasteful spending at Global Affairs Canada.
Right, and Franco, you alluded to some of this, but this is truly just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to wasteful spending by Global Affairs Canada. Now, our investigative shop, or in our federal office, did some research, filed some Freedom of Information requests, and found some really mind-boggling expenses around liquor by Global Affairs Canada. Going through the receipts, you found that bureaucrats at Global Affairs is spending $51,000 per month on liquor. Do I have that right? 51 grand a month taxpayer
Yeah.
money on liquor?
Yeah, $51,000 a month on booze is what Global Affairs Canada is spending. 51 grand a month on alcohol, of course, paid for by the taxpayer. So it sounds like they're having some good parties over there. They're having a good party, but you're not invited. You're just picking up the tab. Now, some of the receipts, it looks like they had some official receptions, right, in other countries around the world. Sometimes the receipts show that they're replenishing their wine stock. But then one item really caught my attention, which was a $1,000 booze-filled trivia night. Look, so like Global Affairs Canada, they're wasting taxpayers' money faster than you can say bottoms up. Like I have no idea why we're spending $51,000 a month on booze for these Global Affairs Canada bureaucrats. Like, maybe you can suggest that one time is maybe just an official reception, but like, come on, 51 grand a month on booze is crazy. And $1,000 booze-filled trivia night just seems like you got too many bureaucrats with too much taxpayers' money on their hand and not enough respect for taxpayers' hard-earned money.
Right, and you can head on to our website, taxpayer.com, scroll over to the newsroom section, and you can find these receipts. We've linked to them in our news releases. Some of them are just like crazy. I mean, replenishment of wine stock. That's literally what one of the receipts said. Another one, wine acquisition, because that's what our government should be doing. This one stood out to me. $56,000. That was the biggest single expense on liquor. And the receipt said wine purchases from special store in Washington, D.C. 56 grand on wine purchases from special store in Washington, D.C. And remember, folks, like this is your tax money, right? When Global Affairs Canada bureaucrats spend money on liquor, on business class flights for ISIS terrorists, that is your money. Those are your tax dollars. And every dollar that Global Affairs Canada spends on Timbits for ISIS or expensive liquor is money that isn't going towards real services that Canadians rely on. It's not going towards cutting your taxes. It's not going towards paying down the $1.2 trillion debt that's been racked up in the past few years. So this has real consequences. Dollars that are spent, wasted by Global Affairs Canada bureaucrats like this is money that's not staying in your pocket or investing in services. Now, Franco, this isn't even the worst spending by Global Affairs. We caught them buying $10,000 worth of Lego bricks for 10 grand. They described it as mixed media art. Right? Like, think about that for a second. 10 grand on Lego bricks and you're calling it mixed media art? But Franco,
Yeah, I mean,
go
there's
for it.
there's so many examples of waste at Global Affairs, right? Look, I'm going to go into a pretty serious one here, and then we're going to go into some crazy, kinky examples of spending from Global Affairs. But and I know this firsthand with people who are very close to me in my life. Like, I know there's so many Canadians who spent months, if not years, waiting in pain to get a hip replacement. Yet our government spent $7.2 million for, quote, gender responsive systems approach to universal health care in the Philippines. Right now, that's just an example of the federal government spending millions of dollars overseas when Canadians, Canadian taxpayers, the ones paying the bills, are struggling back home. But let's get back into some of the crazy spending by Global Affairs. Okay, so they spent $1,700 on a musical.
Mhm.
Now, the musical topic was a little niche. It was about lesbian pirates. Okay, now I don't even really have a joke here. I'm just going to read you the government's description of this musical, Lesbian Pirates. Okay, so the musical tells the untold true story of the ruthless maverick and lesbian pirates who met while cross dressing as male pirates, fell in love, slaughtered swaths of men, stole treasure, and escaped persecution of the law. $1,700 for a musical called Lesbian Pirates. And it gets worse, folks. Okay. Global Affairs spent $8,800 on a sex toy show in Germany called Whose Jizz Is This?
Sorry,
Now,
Franco.
I'm just
Sorry, did you say in Germany? The sex toy show wasn't even for Canadians, it was for Germans?
There you go, right? $8,800 for a sex toy show in Germany called Whose Jizz Is This? Let me read you a description. Quote, the centerpiece of the show was a large water fountain consisting of a number of double-ended sex toys spouting water from both their mouths and vaginas. Isn't that nice, folks? Global Affairs, $8,800, okay? Here's another one. Okay, $8,100 to organize DJ workshops in Turkey and Georgia for the LGBTQ community to, quote, bring more diversity into the world of DJing. Your money they're spending on this. Oh, and my personal favorite, I almost forgot, okay? $12,500 for live stage performances of, quote, all the sex I ever had in Australia, Austria, and Taiwan. Okay, so what the government was doing through Global Affairs is spending money so senior citizens in other countries could talk about their sex stories in front of live audiences, including, quote, first time, best time, worst time, last time. So with your tax dollars, Global Affairs Canada was essentially putting on these live performances in other countries where seniors in those countries would talk about their sex lives in front of live audiences. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, let me just give you one more. Okay. $9,000 for a party at Canada's official residence in Oslo in honor of Pride, which featured a musical performance by an Israeli drag artist. Now, why are your tax dollars paying for that? I have no clue.
Yeah, we couldn't even find a Canadian drag artist. We had to outsource it from Israel. Now, Franco, like I actually found the promotional material from the musical Whose Jizz Is This? The sex toy show in Germany. Right on the program, in big letters, a thank you to the Canadian Embassy in Berlin for its generous contribution to that show.
Oh, how nice.
How nice, right? So I think what we're getting to here is this isn't a one-off. 170
Oh,
grand to bring 8 terrorists back to Canada it's not a one-off. This is part of a pattern of wasteful spending at Global Affairs Canada, which is costing normal taxpayers like you and I $8 billion every year. And that's money that we don't have laying around, right? The national debt in Canada has doubled since 2015. $1.2 trillion, and it's rising fast, very fast. The interest on that debt is costing us about $52 billion this year. To put that number into context, that's as much as the federal government takes from Canadians in GST every year. It's the equivalent of 52 hospitals, cutting edge with all the bells and whistles, right? So our finances are in a bad place. And a big reason they're in a bad place is because politicians and bureaucrats, like these folks at Global Affairs Canada, are wasting eye-watering amounts of money on pet projects and boondoggles that most Canadians will never see and have no use for. 50, this booze tab is making a whole lot of sense now. You'd need to be expensing $51,000 per month of alcohol to think that this kind of spending gives Canadian taxpayers good value for our money. So, Franco, what needs to be done about this? What should our politicians?
Well, we're not even done yet. I've got
Oh,
more. I've got more. We're not done. Sorry, Carson.
go for it.
Look, okay, so another one is just like Global Affairs' real estate portfolio around the world. Okay, so look, Global Affairs spent $41 million for 3 properties in Afghanistan, which were quickly abandoned to the Taliban.
Hey,
So
I'm sure they
taxpayers wrote,
appreciated it. I'm sure the
yeah,
Taliban appreciated
taxpayers
it.
Taxpayers out $41 million. The Taliban has shiny new digs paid for by you. Okay, so $12.5 million for, quote, vacant land in Senegal. $12.5 million. $10 million for a chancery in Ukraine. $58 million on 23 properties in London, England that serve as staff quarters.
Sorry,
Okay,
how many houses in London are they buying for staff?
$58 million
Yeah.
on 23 properties in London, England that serve as staff quarters.
So this is
Okay,
back
now
of napkin
Carson.
math, but like $2 million per residence. Is that right? Back of
Well, yeah,
napkin math?
more than that, like 58 million on 23 properties. Yeah. So I mean, look, this is crazy. One other thing I want to bring into attention here is spending on foreign aid, right? Because now it's not just Global Affairs Canada, although Global Affairs Canada makes up a huge chunk of the money that we send on foreign aid. But let me just put this into perspective, folks. Okay, so foreign aid cost taxpayers $11 billion in 2023. Okay, that's the last year where the records are available. $11 billion is what the government spent on foreign aid. That same year, the government spent $6 billion through the entire Department of Veterans Affairs.
Right.
Okay, so $11 billion on foreign aid, $6 billion spent through the entire Department of Veterans Affairs, right? Let that sink in. Where the government is spending almost twice as much in other countries on foreign aid than it did through its entire Department of Veterans Affairs.
Right. Yeah. And we know that veterans don't have it easy here, right? They put their life on the line for our country. And what are they offered in return? I mean, there is clearly a spending problem at Global Affairs. Like this is undeniable at this point. Timbits for ISIS, new houses for the Taliban over in Afghanistan. There is a spending problem at Global Affairs. Franco, what can be done about it?
Yeah, okay, so what we have to do, folks, 2 things. Number one, if you're sick and tired of this and you want to take action, head over to taxpayer.com. We got a great petition there, which will alert you to when there's opportunities to push the government to cut this type of wasteful spending. So just taxpayer.com, the petition there is cut wasteful government spending. Please do sign it. Now, once you do, we'll let you know when it's time to push these politicians to get rid of all this fat, get rid of this wasteful spending. But you know what we got to see from the politicians in Ottawa. I mean, look, the news, right? That global news broke about Global Affairs spending all that money, bringing those 8 women back to Canada from the Middle East. Some of the outrageous tabs that were involved in that, you know, that really got the headlines, right? That got people talking about Global Affairs. But the big thing is that that's just a one-off, right? Just the tip of the waist iceberg when it comes to Global Affairs Canada. So what we have to see is a full inquiry into Global Affairs Canada, okay, line by line, cutting the waste, significantly cutting Global Affairs Canada's $8 billion plus budget. But not just that, we need to see bureaucrats getting fired, right? Which bureaucrat is approving $51,000 a month on booze? Why aren't they fired? Which bureaucrat approved $8,800 for a sex toy show in Germany? Why aren't they fired? Which bureaucrat approved the 12 grand so senior citizens in other countries could talk about their sex lives in front of live audiences? And why aren't they fired? Okay, if you're going to waste taxpayers' money on stuff like that, we demand accountability. Some bureaucrats need to be held responsible for this, and they need to be fired.
Franco, thanks so much for jumping on today.
Thanks, Carson.